Senator, I would expect that America, being the beacon of freedom, and there are even reports that people in China and in Iran, they're quoting our framers, our founders, the great Patrick Henry. Yeah. Give me liberty or give me death. No word of solidarity, no word of support for people risking their lives like this?
Well, it is amazing how for 2 years we've seen Joe Biden and the Democrats showing weakness and appeasement to every enemy of America, whether it is China, whether it is Iran, whether it is Venezuela, whether it is Russia. This is an administration that can't stand up to our enemies. This is an administration that surrendered to the Taliban in Afghanistan and showed weakness to the entire world. Right now in China, you look at what's happening, it's extraordinary. You're seeing millions of people risking their lives, taking to the street. Look, to go protest, it's one thing to protest in America where the downside is negligible. There, those people are literally risking being thrown in prison, being tortured, being murdered. But they're standing up for freedom. And this is a potential inflection point. And Joe Biden ought to stand up and unequivocally stand with the people of China and say they deserve to be free. But this White House won't do that. We're seeing in Iran, again, people heroically protesting in the street, protesting the repressive Ayatollah who, again, tortures and murders his own people. And again, Joe Biden and the Democrats are terrified to speak out. Now, let me be clear, Sean. I'm not saying that we should go to war with Iran. I'm not saying we should go to war with China. Nobody wants to see a shooting war between China and the United States. But the biggest bully pulpit in the world is the presidency. And Ronald Reagan showed us that when you stand in front of the Brandenburg Gate and you say, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, when you speak out for freedom, it terrifies the communist dictators. It terrifies the tyrants in China, in Russia, in Iran, and in Venezuela. And instead, what does Biden do? He appeases and shows weakness to all of them.
Okay, so the question I was asking is, look at China. Let's isolate China. Hunter Biden gets a $1.5 billion deal with the Bank of China. I would assume that if China really wanted somebody with financial experience, they might go to Goldman Sachs or Deutsche Bank or any one of the big financial firms, right? But no, they went to Hunter Biden at the time, addicted to crack cocaine. That doesn't make sense to anybody. Then, of course, there was a $100,000 shopping spree for Hunter and his family by a Chinese national. And I don't know if you ever got loan terms this good, but they offered the Biden family a $5 million loan with no interest, and it was forgivable. I assume the word forgivable means you don't have to pay it back.
Yeah, that's another word for a gift. That's cash in a brown paper bag. And listen, the pattern for decades of corruption within the Biden family is stunning. And one of the things I want to commend Jim Jordan and James Comer in the House for focusing and the upcoming investigations in the House, they're properly focusing where they should, which is this is not about Hunter Biden. By all accounts, Hunter Biden is a troubled soul. He's dealt with substance abuse his whole life. The Biden DOJ wants to make it about this poor guy with a drug problem. This is about Joe Biden. This is about official corruption. Hunter Biden for decades has sold influence and access to daddy. The millions of dollars Hunter Biden made from communist China, what matters there is the 10% for the big guy, which went to Joe Biden directly. In Ukraine, Hunter Biden got paid $83,000 a month to be on the board of Burisma. Just today, I was questioning a Biden State Department nominee who was in Ukraine at the time. And I asked him, I said, does Hunter Biden speak Ukrainian? No. Does he know anything about oil and gas? No. Did he have any qualification for that job whatsoever other than his daddy was vice president of the United States? Answer, no. And so this investigation is about how Joe Biden has used his family members to sell official favors. And let's be clear, with Burisma in Ukraine, what Burisma got what it was worth, because the Ukrainian government was investigating the oligarch who owned Burisma, and Joe Biden flew to Ukraine and he held up $1 billion in U.S. taxpayer money unless and until they fired the prosecutor investigating the oligarch. And as Joe Biden told us on camera, well, son of a bitch, they fired him. And so, in other words, he got the prosecutor off the back of the corrupt oligarch who was paying his son $1 million a year. They got what they paid for, but that
Senator
is
Cruz,
corruption.
That sounds like a quid and a pro and a quo with Joe, that he leveraged $1 billion of our dollars to get a prosecutor fired. Son of a bee, they did it. You're right. He did say that. And then we find out that his son, as he said to GMA in his own words, he had no experience, like you pointed out today.
Yep.
That sounds like, why would a vice president ever leverage money except that the investigator or the prosecutor was investigating Hunter? So that seems like an abuse of people's money. Here's my big question, though. When you look at the deal with China and you look at the money coming from the former First Lady of Moscow, be it investments in real estate or the $3.5 million going to Hunter Biden, and you put it all together, is there a possibility that this president that swore over and over again that he never talked to his son about his foreign business dealings, we have photographs that prove otherwise, we have business meetings confirmed that prove otherwise, that in fact that he's bought and paid for and that he's a compromised president? Is that a strong possibility in your view?
Look, I think it is. I think for more than a decade, Joe Biden and his son and his brother, his entire family has had a business over selling access and official favors to enemies of the United States. And they've gotten very, very rich doing so. They like to vacation at Nantucket. They like to live like billionaires. And selling official access to foreign nations can be very lucrative. And I think the media tries to cover this up desperately. I also think there's an interesting pattern. Almost every single thing the Democrats and the corporate media accuse Donald Trump and accuse Republicans of doing is in fact what the Democrats are doing. So they accuse Trump of all of this, of the quid pro quo. But of course, it was Biden who very deliberately, his son was making $1 million in order to provide daddy's protection for the oligarch. If you look at the Democrats who went on and on about the DOJ and attacking the DOJ under Trump, this Department of Justice under Joe Biden is the most politicized we've ever seen. They're raiding Mar-a-Lago. In fact, they just appointed this new special counsel, Jack Smith. My latest podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz, I lay out 5 very troubling facts about Jack Smith. He was handpicked to indict Donald J. Trump, and he has a record that is deeply, deeply disturbing. It is what they accuse the other side of doing is what the Democrats are doing. They are corrupting government for partisan and political gain.
That's what the House Judiciary will be investigating with Congressman Jim Jordan. Senator Ted Cruz, we appreciate you being with us as always. Thank you.